Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very long overdue homestead vlog. I apologize for not filming more often, but winter has just been boring, for lack of a better term. It's been like mid-40s, barely any snow. I can't skid any logs because I can't get any grip with the quad. Can't really cut down any trees because I can't skid the logs. Can't really build anything. I mean, it's just a boring time. So I haven't been filming all that much because if the content's not good, there's no reason to put it out there, right? But today we do have some stuff going on, and that's why we're filming. We have a winter weather advisory in effect, which, I'll tell you what, it's not very wintry. Not only has this winter been pretty boring, but all the winter weather advisories have been pretty boring. But we do have some very cold temperatures coming up. Like, we're talking possibly negative temperatures coming up. And not only that, but we got some issues going on with the chickens. So we're gonna cover the cold temperatures, but first we're gonna go over and talk to the chickens. Yep, we got a situation going on with some particular individuals down here. Starting to molt, even though it's the middle of winter and we're gonna have some really cold temperatures coming up. But let's see what we've done to hopefully keep these gals a little bit warmer. We have 2 heat lamps now underneath the log structure that are always on. That way if they want to be out here, they can be a little bit warmer. If they want to stay inside, it's going to be a little bit warmer still. And just like we used to do on the inside here, we do have the heat lamp running, or the reptile heater running. And there's one of the gals getting some lunch right now. I'll also mention that I upped the protein levels in their feed, because even though they're not laying that much right now, they really need the protein to keep themselves warm. So I've been giving them what's called a mega layer blend. It is exactly what it sounds like. I've also been giving them some dried mealworms here and there. They view it as a treat, but really it's just getting that protein level up and giving them some extra warmth. So they enjoy it, keeps them from freezing, so might as well do it. And they seem pretty happy right now. I think they know what I'm bringing them, don't you? So I mentioned that it's going to be getting cold, and that's why I'm giving them the extra protein. But tonight we actually have a wind advisory that might drop the temperatures down to -5 degrees, possibly even colder. So not only am I upping their protein, but over on the chicken coop, if you remember back when I was giving you the full walk around, there's a little hatch for ventilation. I'm going to be closing that tonight to make sure that if there is a bunch of wind, especially if it's that cold, it's not getting into that coop. We have 2 chickens right now that are molting, not very heavily, but they're still molting. And I want to make sure that they're going to stay as warm as possible, even though it's going to be pretty blisteringly cold. Hopefully this keeps the wind out, keeps things a little bit warmer. Should, after all. We're going to check the feed, make sure that that's all topped off, which it is. I think we're ready to go.
Now, even though it's going to be really damn cold tonight, we thankfully have a great way of heating the house because we just got a wood fireplace installed about a month ago. Now, unfortunately, the reason we had to install this fireplace is my main furnace went out, so the decision was either replace the old furnace or get a new fireplace. Pretty easy choice if you ask me. The fireplace itself is a Hearthstone Heritage, and all of the grayish blue looking material that you see is actually soapstone. And the soapstone, while it doesn't get as hot as cast iron, it retains the heat for a much longer period of time. So when you're throwing the logs on at night, it's going to hold that heat for a lot longer, and those logs are going to take a lot longer to burn down as well. The other cool thing is if you have young kids, you probably don't want them running around a burning hot cast iron fireplace. This one, on the other hand, you probably don't want your kids doing this on cast iron, do ya? Now, there is still some cast iron elements around there, and they do still get as hot as traditional cast iron. Ask me how I know. So you still need to be a little bit careful, but overall, it's a much safer design, and it's a much more efficient design as well. Now, I'm going to put some clips that I took last night of this stove in action, and it's really cool to watch because it's not actually the logs that are burning. I'm kind of speaking out of my ass here, so take this with a grain of salt. But if you know what a wood gasifier is, it's basically converting the wood into a gas and then burning the gas for fuel. And it appears like when the catalytic converter's closed and it's running at peak efficiency, that's what's happening. The logs aren't necessarily what's burning, the gas that they're giving off is what's burning. And that's why the fire's happening in the top of the firebox and not coming off the logs themselves. I could be wrong there, but that's what it looks like. I'm going to show you this video. It's really damn cool. Now that we got all that positive out of the way, let's start talking about the negative. Because there's one main drawback that all these modern stoves have, and it's the emissions controls. The EPA wants these modern wood stoves to burn so efficient that basically nothing gets lost into the atmosphere as pollution. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with that. I don't want to breathe dirty air, I prefer clean air. I don't want to waste my wood, and I want my wood stove to be as efficient as possible. But the way they come about doing all that is through the catalytic converter. And just like the catalytic converters on your car, they can get gunked up and they can need replacing. And just like the catalytic converters on your car, that means time and that means money. And it wouldn't be such a big issue having a catalytic converter inside of a wood stove if it worked similar to your car, where you just start it up and it's working. Unfortunately, with wood stoves, you're the one tasked with maintaining that temperature and making sure the catalytic converter isn't burning too cold or too hot. Because if it's burning too cold and you have that catalytic converter shut, you're just going to be gunking it up with a whole bunch of creosote. If it's too hot, you're just going to be burning up the catalytic converter. And you may think to yourself, oh, well, regulating the temperature, that's pretty easy. Got a damper over here on the side, I could just shut that. It's not that simple. There have been plenty of times where the house is still a little bit chilly, so I'm going to go put a couple logs on the fire, and I check that temperature gauge on the side, and it's in that perfect butter zone, as I like to call it. So I throw the logs on, let them burn, and I come back 20-30 minutes later just to find that that same temp gauge is past the too hot point and all the way into the I'm about to spontaneously combust point. That's the worst part about this stove, is regulating the temperature. The easiest way that I've found to do it, however, is to let all the coals burn almost completely down. I want to see very little embers in there before I'm putting more logs on. That's the only way that I've found to make sure that it doesn't get too hot. And so far, within the past 2 weeks that I've been doing that method, it hasn't really gotten to that too hot point. So if you do get this stove or one similar, you may want to try that because you don't want those catalytic converters to burn up. That's a pretty expensive and costly fix from what I hear, and I don't want to find out if that's true or not.
Checking up on the chickens in this cold weather. I found them all huddled up out here. The door is open to the coop. Yeah, door's open. Heat's coming off the heat lamp. Not too sure why they want to be outside, but they must want to. Look at how fat these gals look, all puffed up. Thankfully, the wind is coming from the north, so this hill is blocking a lot of it, but yeah, they are still a little bit chilly. And I'm really glad I came down here to check on these guys because their water is actually starting to freeze up. Even though it is on this heated base, which is on, I could feel it's warm. It's just not warm enough. So, got to put some hot water in there, melt the ice.
So I just put the chickens up for the night, and thankfully the de-icer was doing an okay job keeping this thing from freezing after I came out and dumped some boiling hot water on it this afternoon. So I'm going to take this thing inside to make sure it doesn't freeze overnight, and I'm also only going to leave about 1/4, maybe 1/3 of what this thing could hold when I do bring it out. And my thought with that, if the de-icer, or the base heater I should say, isn't having to heat up as much water, hopefully it's going to do a better job of keeping it warm. That's just my thought. We'll see how it goes. I'm also going to make sure that it's topped off with warm water rather than cold water when I'm taking it out, because there's no reason to bring out cold water to an already cold environment. Right now, temperatures are about 10 degrees, wind chill. I don't know what the wind chill is. I'll probably put that right there because the wind right now is 20 miles an hour with gusts anywhere from 30 to 40 miles an hour plus. So it's pretty serious out. My ears are actually freezing and I can't feel my hands. So I'm gonna get inside and warm up. Good morning, everyone. We are taking some warm water down to the chickens right now. We're also gonna let them out since it's bright and early. Temperature right now is about 7-8 degrees. Winds are staying about 20 miles an hour, gusts anywhere from 30 to 40. So still a bit chilly, but it's a beautiful day. Clear skies, a couple clouds, but it's really nice. Well, it's a little bit colder outside than I assumed. So it's about noon, and it looks like the water is, for the most part, staying thawed out. There's a little bit of ice there, but for the most part, it's thawed. The birds, when I came out here, all of them were huddled in this corner right here. I guess it's a little bit less windy than inside the coop with the door open. I don't know, because all 5 of them just huddled right there. I would think that staying inside there would be warmer with the heat lamp and whatnot, but hey, I'm not a chicken. I don't know. Well, I just put the chickens up in final inspection. There's just a little bit of ice back here. The rest of it has stayed melted, so that's a good sign. I'm still going to bring it inside because we're going to be seeing some more cold temperatures. Not sure how cold, but I just don't want to risk it just in case. Well, I just tried letting those gals out, but they came down the ramp and right back inside. And I don't blame them because even though the temperature is a little bit warmer, the wind has definitely picked up. My hands feel like they're just full of pins and needles right now, so it's definitely cold out. I brought down the water. It is sitting on the base per usual. And I also added a couple pieces of plywood back here just to block a little bit of the wind because all the ice that was building up was right back here. So I think this will do a lot better job of keeping things not from freezing. Not that it was freezing too much yesterday, but just want to prevent as much as possible. Mama. So it's noon and I came out to find them once again all in this corner. I don't understand why they'd rather be out here than inside there, but I have to leave that door open to let them get to the water, so they're gonna stay outside if they want to. And speaking of the water, we'll go over here and check. It looks like, well, it's not frozen over here at least. It is still freezing up back here, but that's okay. The majority of it looks like it is still thawed out, so that's a good sign. Let me mention that these snow goggles work for a lot more than just skiing and snowboarding. Works really well for keeping the wind out of your eyes. Well, it's about 5:30 and I just put the chickens up for the night. The wind has subsided more or less and the temperature is about 20 to 22 degrees, so it's pretty comfortable out. And you guys can probably tell that it's still pretty damn light out. You know, just about a month ago, it'd be pitch black this time of day, so I'm looking forward to spring coming and most importantly, going fishing. Now that being said, we are supposed to get about 3 to 6 inches of snow here in about 2 days. And if that happens, you guys might get a snow plowing video. But I do still have some old files on my laptop of me snow plowing on New Year's that I still need to upload. But unfortunately, I'm a bit of a boomer and it's taken me a while to learn how to edit on my laptop. So I apologize, but those are on the way, so subscribe. And speaking of subscribers, by the time this goes out, we would have probably passed 500. And that might not sound like a lot, but to me, that's a whole lot. So I want to thank all you guys for watching, and most importantly, liking and commenting. Your interaction is what keeps me going on here, and your sharing of my videos gets me more views. YouTube doesn't really share my videos in the algorithm. I've said that a million times, and unfortunately, it's the truth. So I do rely on you guys, and I really do appreciate when you comment, when you like. That's what keeps me going on here. So if you enjoy what I do, I ask that you just subscribe, comment, maybe like my video, and if you could, share it with someone that you think might enjoy it as well. And with that, you guys, thank you for 500 subscribers. Make sure you stay warm out there. Thank you for watching. Think for yourself, shoot straight, and I will see you next time.